Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today we got our very first official promo teaser for The Walking Dead Season 9. Now, this thing is awesome. I love it. I love it. Now, it doesn't have a lot of hints to it, but I think it has two big hints for the story possibilities coming up. Now, for those unaware, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know we're getting a time skip, and at this time it seems to be the most popular opinion that we're getting most likely original content compared to going straight into comic book content. Now, obviously, the New Beginning itself, but what I'm referring to is the villains per se. Now, that's not to say we're not going to get hints of the villains throughout, but it seems like we're getting two big things that might take the story in a different direction, and they're hinted on this poster. And when I say a different direction, I mean deviating from the comic. You know, once in a while they deviate with the original material for the TV show only, and they always swing back around to hit those, comic notes. Anyway, in this image, we're going to look at the characters left to right, but in this image, you can see the two big hints, which is the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and I love it. I love the look. I think, for me personally, you ever see like a beautiful sunset or a landscape? I don't know why, but I've always thought, man, they should have paintings of like post-apocalyptic paintings. Don't take that idea, because I got plans for that. I want to make a post-apocalyptic line. Stuff like this. I love that. I love that so much. You could have like the Capitol building in your house and like, or that type of construction, yada, yada, yada. For me, looking like it's post-apocalyptic, I think it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Anyway, now, so yeah, the Capitol building and them being in DC. I know in the comic they made runs to DC, sure, but this wasn't really a main focus of the New Beginning. It wasn't at all. And then you see above Rick's back, and then Michonne's, it's her left shoulder. You see the little helicopter. Now, this helicopter is something that's been giving me a fucking headache ever since they put it in the series. This helicopter is something that Jadis is the only one that we know of that knows about the helicopter. And I would assume, based on what little information we got, the helicopter couldn't take everybody. So Jadis never took advantage of going with the people on the helicopter. But since the people got killed by Simon, she let up a flare, and she decided to go with them at that time. And then her situation with Negan, she ended up missing it, and yada, yada, yada. But I think that could be the only thing at this time. She has a bunch of people in the junkyard community. If the people in the helicopter were close enough, the junkyard community and Jadis could basically travel there, right? So they have to be at a distance away to not be close enough to travel. You get my thinking? If that's the case, Jadis didn't need the helicopter. Jadis could just walk there or go there, but the distance is a problem. Now, if the helicopter was going to take Jadis and her people, maybe it didn't have enough gas or the resources itself to get Jadis and her group, 6, 7, I've never been in a helicopter, 6, 7 people at most at a time, picking them up, taking them, picking them up, taking them, you get what I'm saying? So they couldn't relocate Jadis in the whole junkyard community. Then again, maybe they didn't want to. They thought, from Jadis' own words, they thought they had something going. Now, here's why I say the helicopter gives me a friggin' headache. Because we have new communities coming up in the comic, which they most likely will go the comic route. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, again, unless it's too expensive. In the comic book, there's this massive community. We're not going to see it for a while, so relax. But there's this huge community, and I'm thinking we already are stretched thin the way it is. Not just budget, but time. We don't have enough time to focus on Oceanside fully. We don't have enough time to focus on in the comic what I love, and I hate keep bringing up the comic, but it's a good way to show how like the Oceanside, we're barely ever there. We're there like one comic book page every like 20 issues, you know, sometimes every 30 issues. We've barely even seen Oceanside, let alone the people. Even in the recent issue of The Walking Dead, there was like a page and we saw the same shit we saw before, which was like the shoreline, the inlet. So in the comic book, you can get away with it. In a TV show, I believe you can get away with it, but for whatever reason they want to flesh it out a little more than I really think they need to. Like, we didn't need a whole episode at the Oceanside. We could probably put sprinkles of their storyline throughout the other episodes, and it would have worked fine. You don't need every community to play a major role in the story. You can have these communities just like background characters. That can and should be the case. You have a community that's just like a background character. Tobin is not going to have Daryl's storyline. You know what I mean? Because he's suited to be a specific type of character. You get what I'm saying? If you broke that rule and made everybody, you know, an important figure and you gave them each screen time, you're going to ruin your own show and story. And I feel the same with the communities. So circling back, because there's just simply not enough time, right? Now, circling back to how that connects with the helicopter. What is it? Another community? We just don't have the time. We don't have the budget. There's just no reason, story-wise. There just simply is no reason. Unless this is going to be like a temporary community that leads to something and pushes the story forward in some direction that connects it down the line to the Commonwealth community. Maybe this is the bridge between the communities. In the comic book, it was a radio, and we saw hints of a radio. In the comic book, there was a fair, and we saw hints of a fair. In season, remind me guys, what, 7? Michonne and Rick went to the, and I thought that was foreshadowing to show us where they got the fair equipment. But I haven't heard any rumblings. I'm not really listening, but I figured we would hear them setting up some huge fair outside Alexandria with all the fans going there, harassing the shit out of the cast and crew. Not the if you go there but you don't harass them, I'm not talking about you. But anyway, I would have thought we would have heard something along the lines of that. So now transitioning over to the DC hint on the picture here, we did see set images of Rick and gang, and it's neat seeing Carol now. She has her look slightly different, but it is new enough. We got, I think, Maggie and Rick with the most, you know, different looks, but it's pretty much just different hairstyles. Rick with the short hair, Maggie with the long hair, looking beautiful as ever. But don't leave Michonne off. She looks, you know, exactly how she did previously, but gorgeous as ever. Anyway, the DC hint, when they were getting, the fans took set photos, they were filming at DC, and this isn't something that was leaked or spoiled. They did articles and they talked about it anyway. I think the closer you got to Georgia, the more articles you would see posted about them filming in DC and around this and that and yada yada yada. Well, I'm sorry, not in DC. They're filming in Georgia. They're filming around the correct me if it's the government buildings in Georgia, but they're gonna double them for the DC location. You get what I'm saying? So they're not filming in DC, but they're gonna make Georgia look like DC with CGI. That's what I'm figuring. So this is most likely going to be an original story element. Now, will this introduce the new characters that we were introduced into the comic book that led us to where we are now? Like in the comic, we met Magna and her group, and then she ran into Jesus and them luring a big herd away from Alexandria and the other communities. Instead of that little scenario, will we get an opening for season 9 where we follow Magna and her crew and they run into Rick and his crew in DC while they're on some type of run? Now, what run are they involved in? You have all the important figures here. I don't get what they would be doing. They're not on some average run, I wouldn't feel like. The leaders of different communities, you know, because when the set photos were taken, it was Rick, it was Maggie, there was Ezekiel. So you have all the different kingdoms there. Unless this is something, whatever they're doing near the Capitol buildings, whatever they're doing has to do with all the different communities. Whether it's again establishing some type of law or rule or moving forward. I mean, if they're in the government buildings, and I'm just stretching here, are they looking for law books? Are they setting up some type of foundation for their government? And I do believe now that the helicopter, since a passage of time over a few years would get a bit complicated with realism with the helicopter. I just feel right off the bat, if we see a 5-year time skip, in the comic it was between a 3 to 4 year, but they want to keep it ambiguous, so they don't really lock it down, but it's definitely between 3 and 4 year. But for the TV show, I just feel like they're not doing that. We are probably getting months time skip, which the only reason I'm bringing that up is because of the loose ends. We have Heath, which I doubt we'll ever see him again, but it wouldn't make sense to have this whole, 3, 4, 5 year time skip and then bring Heath back if they ever decide to do that. And then the helicopter, for some reason it's gnawing at me, this 5-year time skip, and then the helicopter, it seems like it would be irrelevant at that point. So I do feel like the helicopter is proof that the time skip will be no longer than a year. It has to be, if you look at Maggie, let's say she was about 2 months pregnant during All Out War, so it would have to be, let's say if her baby's 9 months, let's give it 10 months, so just under a year. I mean, that would work, right? So that's where I feel it's less than a year, more than 7 months, okay? And that might even make it easier as well, instead of having to hire a 2 or 3 year old, if they were going to do that time skip, to play little baby Glenn or Herschel, whatever they decide to call the baby. So you guys let me know if you agree or not about the helicopter giving you a headache trying to figure out how they're going to piece that into the storyline, or is that an exciting bit? Now, don't get me wrong, I do think there's excitement there. Like, I want to know how it connects to the story and what it's going to do in the future. We already have people running around saying, oh, you know what, there's rumors of Rick leaving, the helicopter's going to take him away, and then later he'll come back, and yada yada yada. Now, a lot of people are asking me, what's your opinion about Rick leaving? No matter what it is, he goes no matter what, and then we focus on the other characters, and then they bring Rick back at the end of the season or towards the end of the season. Story-wise, there's no purpose for that unless the actor himself wants a break, and that's the only thing I can see that would be the big shenanigans that everyone's talking about, is if AMC's plan, or not just AMC but the writers and Andrew Lincoln, is Andrew Lincoln needs a break for whatever purpose. He's going to bow out but go with the helicopter people, and he's going to be gone for the majority of season 9, but he will return, and then he's going to finish out season like 10 and 11, let's just say, and then he'll bow out of the series completely, and that's where the mix-up is. Like, we think he's going to die, but he's not. If that's the case, if we think he's going to die and he's not, if he sticks around for another season or 2, let's say 2 seasons, I'm cool with that. But if it's just like he leaves and comes back and he's only back for a few episodes, I just don't see the point in that. I really don't see the point in that. So if you got different theories and speculation about where he could go and then why he's coming back and all that, maybe he goes to make the connection with Commonwealth. I put them in the comment section down below. I'll love to read your thoughts and opinions and theories and everything like that. But my opinion still is the same. If he leaves and comes back and dies, that's just pointless. If he leaves and comes back and stays for a couple seasons, then okay, I see what they're doing. He needed a longer of a break, At this time, though, I'm still just preparing for him to be gone. That's it. Just done. Because this way, if it's not true, I'm excited. I'm happy again. I'm like, woo woo. But if I get my hopes up that this might be fake, and he might actually be alive throughout the season, and he ends up dying, I'm just going to be like, well, shit, All right, so you guys give me your thoughts and opinions. Like I said, I don't want to talk anymore about this because there's not much here except for the DC hint and then the helicopter, which again, we just don't have enough information. But Carol looks great. I love how she is there's something a little new and refreshing. She only has maybe a slightly different style of outfit on, and the hair, something a little different with the hair. And then, like I said, Michonne's got pretty much the same getup. Yeah, pretty much the same getup, looking good. I love the way Maggie looks here. Not only is she a knockout, but I love the plaid shirt. Kind of like, reminds me of like a little Rick in training. And we got Rick here, obviously looks 10 times better than the old Rick from season 8. And then Daryl here, I personally would like a different look for Daryl, but if this is only 10 or 11 months, I'm good with that, okay. But I do want to see Daryl evolve a little more, and I'm actually shocked, stupid, that they didn't do some type of different change. And it doesn't have to be grand, it doesn't have to be insane, given he probably kept his hair, maybe I'm reaching here, but he's in a video game. They might have more work to do for that, so he might actually have to keep his look that he had before. Again, that's just a wild guess, but it might be the case. But yeah, I do feel like they would do something different with him, especially with reinvigorating collectibles. You know, like Daryl's a brand, but if you were to release collectibles of him now, it would look identical to the past, like, what, 4 seasons? So it just doesn't make any sense why they didn't rebrand him in some type of way, kind of refresh his little mini brand itself. All right, guys, love the atmospheric vibe of this poster, and when we get more stuff coming about The Walking Dead Season 9, I will definitely come back here to discuss it with you guys. And I got a little bit of Fear the Walking Dead, a little bit of a Fear the Walking Dead video coming up behind this one, so stay tuned. Leave your thoughts, theories, opinions, and predictions down in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.